Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast.
Okay, welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast. Our technician Charlie said we need a better introduction to each episode. So now I'm going to hand you over back to Ben to give the introduction for the Welsh Yogi Podcast.
Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Welsh Yogi Podcast, which is
13?
13. It's an inauspicious number for some. It's Charlie's lucky number, which says a
Your
lot.
lucky number is 13.
Yeah, he's the only one.
It would be, wouldn't it?
What day were you born? Friday, was it?
You were born on Friday the 13th. That explains everything.
Says it all. Says it all. Stars aligned for that.
Award number 13.
Really.
Wait there, just a second.
I'll carry on introducing, is it?
Well, yeah, we haven't finished the introduction yet.
No, definitely.
But what I downloaded the other day was an angel number app on my phone.
Brilliant.
So just so you guys, so what it does.
For those who aren't aware, angel numbers are sort of numbers that appear in your life at synchronous moments, and they have various meanings depending on.
Yeah, I never believed in them, and I still don't believe in them. But Ben, you've been
they've guided me.
devotee
They've been a guiding force in my life, and they're the reason that I became a monk. In all honesty, they're not the reason, but they're they're definitely like cookie crumbs, which I follow to get here.
So just before we listen to this fantastic, newly inspired introduction that Ben will carry on, I'm just going to go into the angel number app. Okay.
As you do.
And we're going to see what the current angel number is. So it's 5:30. This has been recorded at 5:30. And
In the afternoon.
so angel number 530 indicates that the life choices and decisions you have made will bring about positive changes that will encourage auspicious opportunities to present in your life. It is also a message that you will be devoting more of your time and energy to your spiritual pursuits and your life purpose and soul mission.
So it's very auspicious, but I have to. Every time you've opened that app, it's been the same message but worded in a different way.
I don't like the way it's always positive,
Yeah, it shouldn't be always positive.
because life's not always positive, you know.
It's positive and negative, and it equals out.
Yeah. I read life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react.
10% what happens to you.
Yeah. Am I speaking too quietly?
No, I just couldn't, because you said what happens to you. It sounded like one word. It was just the way you said it.
I say.
But
It's
no,
because I've got wax in my ear, or
Yeah.
I've put these eardrops in so I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Should we go back to this introduction?
Yeah, the introduction. So
'Cause I'm looking forward to this.
basically, we just wanted to let everyone know that this is a podcast. It's not actually, believe it or not, we've started off with the angel numbers, but it's not New Age spirituality that's taken place here on today's episode.
No.
The Welsh Yogi Podcast is actually, it comes from bona fide ancient yoga Sanskrit texts.
Yeah, I don't like New Age spirituality.
No, neither did I. I was more of a straight shooter myself before I even came here. I wasn't into incense. I couldn't see the sense in incense. That was one of
You
my...
went into incense.
Yeah, I just thought it was a bit weird.
Incense.
Yeah, like
Is it weird?
from a Western perspective, incense, it's like the stick that you light on the end, and I don't know. I was always more of a sparkler kind of person, and seeing as it has the same form as a sparkler, I thought, what's the point? What's the point in this? No, but this ain't New Age.
This introduction going.
It's great. So the Welsh Yogi Podcast is not a New Age spirituality based on feelings and emotions, but it's based on hard science. The hard science of back to yoga. So we're reading from the Sri Upanishad, which is a ancient yoga text. Gopal.
Yeah, the Sri Upanishad is one of the Upanishads, and as you described before, the Vedic literature is vast, and it deals heavily with things like consciousness, reality, your perceptions of reality, the different flavors that you get from activities in life, and it delves deeply into
relationships, isn't it?
Relationships, yeah, and different tastes of love that you can experience, different levels of pleasure and ecstasy that the soul can tap into in reality. So now we're on Sri Ishopanishad, which is always listed in as the first or most important of the Upanishads, actually. Yeah. And we're reading the purports by Srila Prabhupada.
How many verses? It's 16 mantras, 18 mantras. 18 mantras that were written in the Sanskrit language, which is we've spoke about it before in previous episodes. You're welcome, if this is your first episode, you're welcome to go back to episode 1 and listen to them all. We won't charge you. You can just go back and you can catch up then. But at the moment we're on mantra 4. Mantra 4 is the 4th mantra.
And also, just to put that, so angel number 534 says, encourages you to use your natural intuition and curiosity as fuel to drive you forward towards a better understanding of yourself.
Yeah.
So that just confirms what Ben's
it's
saying.
Very poignant. So if your intuition has brought you here today, if you followed the different markings in the road, then it's natural just to explore that. So the 4th mantra, we're talking about God. I know it's a taboo word for some people, but God, the source of all creation, right, Gopal?
Yeah. In fact, a few episodes we've delved into this idea of conception of God and things, isn't it? I think.
But we don't want to be shy, because it's easy to shy away from that topic, God. You know, me personally, I wasn't into religion beforehand, before becoming a monk, believe it or not, because that whole concept of God is very tarnished with organized religions that maybe have some ulterior motive. But Sri Ishopanishad, this is before organized religions sprung up. This is ancient sort of.
Yeah, the Vedic culture. Give Sri Ishopanishad and this Vedic literature and these books that have been translated by Srila Prabhupada, give them a chance to explain what they mean when they have to use this word, this English word of God.
Yeah.
We have to put away our sort of biases, and we should do that more with everything, all different cultures. I mean, there's so much going on now in the name of like attributing. You know, if you look at someone, then you already might, like, say if you see some a Sikh person in a turban, or Christian, Muslim, or any policeman now with the different things that are going on in the world. Already we easily ascribe a whole story behind them and what we think of them, and in fact they teach that I was studying conflict resolve, which is the art of not only diffusing arguments, but also how people can, it might seem like they have different sort of motives, how they work together and sort of flourish, because you have arguments everywhere, but it's nation versus nation, business, even with like a family relationship. That's if I remember correctly, that's one of the things he was saying is the teacher was that if someone comes into the room, then we very quickly make up our mind and create a narrative for a person depending on how they look, especially if their sort of external dress is stereotypical of a certain people. So I think
it's natural, isn't it? Like me personally, like someone does something and I automatically assume they've done that against me and it's their fault, and we create these whole different narratives, and more often than not that where your mind jumps to is not actual reality.
Yeah.
Like you've just ascribed this motive, or that person looks like that, so they must be thinking like that, and they looked at me like that, so I don't like them anymore.
Yeah, we have to give each other a chance to explain. Like they say, Chinese culture, it's rude to finish all of your meal because you're saying, well, I'm not satisfied, I could have eaten more. So it's culture to always leave a bit on your plate. But here you think, it's rude to leave anything on your plate. So
Oh, you didn't like your noodles, is it?
yeah. Oh no, he's ate. So like in China, I think it's China.
Yeah.
He's eating everything. Oh, we better give him a bit more. Give him a bit more.
Yeah.
And yeah, we think, oh, he's left some. Oh, he doesn't like it.
Yeah, so everyone's got a different. But yeah, I think we should. I think Charlie, does that satisfy you, that introduction?
Yeah.
Does it make sense, Charlie?
I think
You know what page you're on? You explain.
we're on page 33. If you've got the book and you're reading along at home.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
Thanks, Charlie. So it gets the badge or seal of approval. So maybe we should go into the
Yeah, I think it's about time.
the invocation.
Yeah.
Every time we do this invocation, and it calls the I don't know what it does really. Do you know what it does? You're more advanced.
It purifies the atmosphere.
Purifies
Prepares our consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, to hear spiritual sound vibrations. It's a very powerful mantra. Do you know chant it, Ben?
Yeah, it's what do they call it? The 6-syllable mantra? 4-syllable mantra? Namo Bhagavate. No, it's more than 6, more than 4. There's a certain number of syllables. But it goes Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, you want to chant it?
We can do it all together. It's very cozy. It's not new age.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So maybe last episode we started reading the purport. The purports are like descriptions. I never heard the word purport before I started reading these types of books. But it means like sort of the unpacking of the verse, right? Would you say it like that?
Yeah.
The explanation. But I guess we could just read the verse and then carry on where we were, is it?
Yeah, go on then. You could read my ears. My ear is all blocked up.
So it says, although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all things running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. Interesting. And then, so we're on the purport. I think we're on the second paragraph of the purport.
Yeah.
So this is sort of expanding on that verse. Although his energies are innumerable, they can be divided into 3 principal categories: the internal potency, the marginal potency, and the external potency. There are hundreds and millions of subheadings to each of these categories. The dominating demigods, who are empowered to control and administer such natural phenomena as air, light, and rain, are all classified within the marginal potency of the absolute person. Lesser living beings, including human beings, also belong to the Lord's marginal potency. The material world is the creation of the Lord's external potency, and the spiritual sky, where the kingdom of God is situated, is the manifestation of his internal potency. Thus, the different energies of the Lord are present everywhere. Although the Lord and his energies are non-different, one should not mistake these energies for the supreme truth. Nor should one wrongly consider that the Supreme Lord is distributed everywhere impersonally, or that he loses his personal existence. Men are accustomed to reaching conclusions according to their capacity for understanding, but the Supreme Lord is not subject to or limited, subject to our limited capacity for understanding. It is for this reason that the Upanishads warn us that no one can approach the Lord by his own limited potency. Carry on, or this is one of my favorite like topics. These different energies, because it boils down like this world, like the whole universe, everything we know, into three things, right? So you got the internal potency, which is like the spiritual energy. You got the external potency, which is the material energy, and then the marginal potency, which is, you know, like margins can either be identified as spirit or matter, you know. So I guess basically what this is saying is that, well, it's not what this is saying, but it's what I've heard before. So the external energy, the material energy, is like innate matter, right? So it's things that don't move independently, and it requires
not conscious. Is
yeah,
it?
not conscious. Maybe you can explain it better. But like you've got the non-conscious matter, like this table, or even like anything, all the atoms, you know. But it takes that consciousness, that spiritual energy, for it to be enlivened.
Mm.
So like when a person is in their body, if the soul is spiritual energy, right? And if the soul leaves the body, then the body just returns to just being matter. But while the soul's in there, it's spiritual. I don't know, but I can't really explain it. But when I hear it, I know what it's all about. So maybe you can explain it better than me.
No, it's not. It was what we talked about before, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
that simple sort of entry point
Yeah,
in understanding there's a difference between matter and sort of spirit.
yeah,
Like you have, there's a force in this world that makes things move, grow, experience things. If you were going to reflect on your own body, I mean, you can do it now while listening to this podcast. If you were going to just, scan your body from head to toe and back up and really feel within yourself, you can really discern that there's an observer, there's a conscious observer, which is yourself, and then you are aware and observing these different elements of your body. So there's a difference between the observer and the observed. So there's a difference between us as living conscious beings and the material machine by which we move about in this world and we call the body. So, that's the question, where does life come from? Because if you have a plant that's growing, or if you have a baby that's growing, if you were going to say there's a difference between it being alive and dead, if something's dead, then it doesn't grow anymore. It no longer, like a plant, no longer moves to the sunlight. A human being is no longer conscious. So there's a point that we call death. And then from that point of death, then that material body then doesn't grow anymore. In fact, it starts to deteriorate. That material structure, instead of becoming more and more growing and sometimes becoming more complex, it becomes more simple. It deconstructs itself. And so the question is, what's the difference between a living body and a dead body? If chemically it's all there, and if there's any chemicals missing, well, those chemicals are all readily available. There's billions of examples of life emerging all around us. But, with such examples, surely we can add whatever's missing and make a dead person living again. But fundamentally, it's not just like if your car breaks down and you miss a part, and you just replace the part and the car carries on moving. So if it was just a machine, if it's just matter, then, certain thing, theoretically you'd be able to carry on a living being living. But here the Vedic literature is saying that actually what gives life to things isn't a material element, it's actually the spiritual spark of consciousness, or the Atma, which illuminates the body by consciousness, just like the sun illuminates the sky with sunshine. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita.
yeah. It's like that car analogy as well. Like once the driver leaves the car, then the car doesn't move anymore.
Yeah.
So like the spiritual energy, the conscious being, is that driver. So you can't really replace the driver with another piece of machine, unless you're Tesla, unless you're what's his name, Elon Musk. Elon Musk can get rid of the driver, but even then you need someone to press the button and someone to sit in there.
I saw a thing today about they're developing artificial intelligence and driverless cars. And they're saying in the future, because the way artificial intelligence works, it works on data. So they say in the future, these driverless cars will be more accurate than cars driven by humans, because then also these driverless cars will be able to communicate with each other. But then the question was raised then, well, what about, truck drivers or delivery people? You have everyone will lose their jobs, and then you start to get a culture which is, you start to get a whole section of people which become obsolete, sort of thing. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, engineering yourself out of a job.
Yes.
So,
but I was reflecting on this idea, because that's where Bhagavad Gita starts, is there's a difference between the body and the self. And then when one starts to explore that idea, then as you explore it, it becomes more and more cemented into, you understand more and more about it, the more and more you go with this line of reasoning that, okay, my consciousness is something beyond just the corporal machine that I'm inhabiting. And it is a shame. I think society is missing something very, very fundamental when we don't approach life from this angle. What was it? Some people say God is the opiate of the people, to try and to sort of numb pain. You try imagine there's a God and some happy place in the sky, and so all of a sudden death doesn't, become so imposing on you. But you can see actually rather today's society, this sort of ignorance of the self and spiritual science, and the rubbish that's being pumped out on social media, internet, newspapers, people's, what young people today are, sort of things they're reading and hearing, is becoming very much an opiate of the people. And no one, very few people, at least from my experience and, speaking to different people every day, is that more and more now, I'm seeing anyway less of an inclination to look into these spiritual topics. The kids today are so, I can say it's because I've spoken to quite a lot of them. They've, or it's probably reflected in the statistics. What was it recently? Suicide in children has increased by 200%. From a very young age now, they're exposed to smartphones, internet technology, pornography. It's really. Someone was telling me I think I might have mentioned this before, but when invading, who was it? I'm not sure if it was the Nazis but some military group. They would go into a place, and the first thing they'd do to control the population is they would arrange for the mass distribution of pornography, because it would weaken the men's resolve, and it would stop them from doing anything that sort of requires determination. Yeah,
there's stuff in the yoga texts that talk about how retention of semen improves strength and mental fortitude and all these different intelligence stuff like that. And you see it with boxers or footballers. They refrain from.
Yeah, it increases your strength, vitality. The amount of drops of blood that are in a drop of semen is I can't remember. It's a lot. So you really are getting rid of a lot of blood when you discharge semen like that. And all the psychologists before Freud, the mainly sort of accepted school of thought was that if possible, one should try and not just waste this sort of life substance.
It's crazy because you don't get that education at all, and obviously this mass access to pornography is just causing all of the young boys to just get rid of all their semen, and no wonder everyone's they're all I don't know, worn out.
It does contribute to depression. They did an experiment once where they took these youngish children, I guess they must have been early teenagers, and they put them in this controlled environment. And I don't know if this is too coarse for this podcast, but they told them that, basically masturbate as much as you want and stuff, And what they tried to do is build this sort of culture into them that it's completely okay and healthy to do that. Because I guess they started this experiment with the premise that it's only society which is telling you that these things are detrimental, or I guess from probably not now, but previous to but
now there's none.
Yeah, now it's encouraged. But before, I guess, at least going back probably 20, 30 years ago or something, it was a bit more taboo. But so the point of this experiment was to prove that it was actually just a societal construct that made people feel guilty when they engage in such activities. But what they found out from this controlled experiment is that it wasn't, and these kids actually felt a sense of shame and a sense of sort of disappointment, and even sort of telltale signs of depression and stuff by engaging in this activity so much. Yeah, and that's like so widespread nowadays, And like you said, everyone's massively exposed to all of this, like. It's so deep now in everyone's consciousness. Sex sells.
If you go on Instagram and you're trying to practice celibacy, which is what the monk, like being a monk, you do try to practice celibacy. You pretty much practice it.
You're a monk.
I'm a monk. I've been doing it now for 2 years. My anniversary was a couple of weeks ago.
Congratulations.
But no, you go on Instagram and all of a sudden you realize how like subtly pornographic everything is. There's just so much skin on show and all of this, which before when you're sort of numb to it, you don't notice, but like now you can see it, and it's quite scary because like
things are going.
Even someone who's trying to control himself, like someone who's practicing celibacy, gets pulled towards that because our bodies, our psychology is naturally designed to be attracted to that sensuality, And even myself, like I've found myself clicking on these like pictures, and then like it's like completely gratifying some sort of like primal urge,
some karmic desire.
And I'm like, then I try to cut it, because that's yoga means to cut that out, to stop, to close it as soon as you catch that, you close it. But these lower urges, they're very difficult to battle, even for one. Krishna says something similar, isn't it? Even one trying to control their senses. They're so strong and impetuous. They drag away the. Do you know the verse?
Yeah, the yogi. We mentioned it this morning. Actually,
it's the senses will drag away the intelligence of someone practicing. So like this is the whole point of this purport. It's talking about is that the living entity is marginal. So we have a choice. We have a higher nature and a lower nature. So like the higher nature is what it says. The internal potency is like the spiritual aspect to reality, because there's a whole spiritual reality beyond this kind of matrix, this physical material world we live in, and us as living entities have the option to choose between the matter and the spirit. These lower urges, these urges of the senses, are pulling us towards the material reality, but the whole purpose of yoga is to elevate above that,
Hare Krishna. Well, and we've been Welsh yogis, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Shikshana Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda